Welcome to the Healthcare Bill Part 18. I know this has been a long time and we're just like a couple of days from our elections. And you're probably sitting there going, well, why talk about it now? We're just about ready to elect our politicians. Why do we care what's in the Healthcare Bill now? There's a real good reason for that. You still got the Healthcare Bill getting ready to take effect, full effect, in 2014. Now, just because you put the politicians in office doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to make all the changes that you want them to make. So you have to know what's actually in the bill to ask them what you want them to change once they get into office. So it's going to be very important for me to continue making these videos so you can understand what they're changing and what you want them to change. Otherwise, you're saying we change the healthcare bill. Well, they're going to be sitting there going, well, what do you want us to change? And then you have no idea. Okay, enough said about that. In the next section, which I believe is on like page 20 or whatever, we have the appeals process. I don't know whether anybody's gone through a healthcare appeals process. I certainly have not, but I've known people who have. You got some real problems there. Okay? Now, this thing talks about the appeals of coverage determinations and the appeals of coverage claims. Okay? Now, what you're trying to do is, this comes in two parts. Number one, coverage determinations. What does that actually mean to you? Well, it actually means if the healthcare coverage that you get from your employer says you're going to be covered for certain things, and then they decide they don't want to cover it, you can say, hey, you know what? In my policy it says that you're supposed to cover so and so thing, but you're not. Alright? Now, as for the claim itself, you go in and you put your claim in, and they say, well, it's denied. Well, you got to have that appeal somehow. Okay, so here's how this one's going to work. By law, the company has to have in place an internal claims appeal process. Some of these insurance companies have never had an internal claims appeals process, but now by law they have to. Okay? And then they are to notify you by law. Okay, this is no longer, well, we'll have this appeals process, we're not going to tell you about it. They now have to tell you by law how to go through their appeals process. And they have to do it in a culturally and linguistically appropriate manner. Okay? Now, they also have to tell you by law if there is an external appeals process and how to go through it as well. Okay? Then they also have to tell you about the availability of the Office of Health Insurance Consumer Assistance or an ombudsman. Now, for people that are sitting there going, what the heck is an that's a real word there. Ombudsman. O-M-B-U-D-S, hang on, I'll do that again. O-M-B-U-D-S-M-A-N. Now, who's this guy? Well, he's kind of a third party. He doesn't represent the insurance company. He doesn't represent you either. He's kind of like a third person that negotiates between the other two. And these insurance companies have to notify you of who this ombudsman is and how to get a hold of him. By law, they have to tell you that now. Before, they didn't have to tell you a thing. But now they do. Alright? And this is in accordance with Section 2793 of the Healthcare Bill, which, by the way, if you scroll just a little bit further down, you'll find Section 2793. Okay? Now, they are also to assist you with the appeals process. Okay? And by the way, Section 2793 is entitled Health Insurance Consumer Information. It is the very next section I'm going to cover in my healthcare bill videos. Okay. Now, the next thing they have to guarantee by law, you are allowed by law now to review your file. In the old days, If you were having a dispute with your insurance company, they could withhold your file. Not anymore. By law, they have to allow you to review your file. They also have to allow you to present any relevant evidence and testimony. They can't say, well, you can't submit this, you can't talk about this, you can't say that. They can't do that anymore. Okay? And if you are in dispute with your insurance company while the dispute is taking place, you are to remain in coverage with them. One of the dirty tricks of the insurance companies was to just suddenly say, well, you're disputing us, so we're going to cut off your insurance until this dispute is over with. They can't do that anymore. Law says they can't do that. Okay. And then they're supposed to tell you about the Uniform External Review Model Act. You need to look that term up. This term comes from the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. So look up the Uniform External Review Model Act and read up on it. You need to know this. And they're to tell you about this as well. If the insurance company does not, they're breaking the law. And that covers the appeals process, which is in this whatever section we're talking about, which I believe is on page 20 of the current healthcare bill law. So, now you've got it. I will talk about more in a future video, so stay tuned.